The Marc Patrone radio program, heard exclusively on News Talk, Saga 960.
And we are back with more News Talk. So very glad you could join us on this Friday edition of the show. So Vice President Joe Biden wants to be the next president of the United States. He came out and said this yesterday in Delaware concerning the call for nationwide mask mandates.
Every single American should be wearing a mask when they're outside for the next 3 months at a minimum. Every governor should mandate mandatory mask wearing. The estimates by the experts are it will save over 40,000 lives in the next 3 months. 40,000 lives. The people act responsibly. And it's not about your rights, it's about your responsibilities as an American. Protect.
All right, so there's Joe Biden sounding like he's not well. I mean, we've got Miles Kristen on the line coming to us from near Madison, Wisconsin. Miles, you heard the vice president there. I mean, to me, the guy sounds like he's at half speed. He sounds exhausted. He sounds slightly disoriented. Leaving apart the message itself, which is this draconian call for people to wear masks outside, which is patently ridiculous. I mean, honestly, I don't know. What do you think?
I think, there's a lot of bad policies out there, and I think every aspect of policies around COVID should be greatly debated. I mean, the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources just asked their employees to wear masks while doing Zoom chats from home.
I heard that was in Wisconsin. I heard about that. That's great.
That's ridiculous. That is a stupid policy, Wearing a mask inside, I think, is a very responsible idea. And there's the question of, a corporation or a business can have their policies of enforcing masks. Debatable how much a county can or a state can. I mean, I'm in favor of masks. I mean, the way Biden was talking about it did sound more like each individual state, and we can see the difference of Florida versus other states. And it is a scary, weird thing. But there are other things that we could be doing on top of the issue about masks. I mean, this could have been so much better contained in the months of February, March, April, had people not been, going on cruise ships and traveling, taking these vacations, and people not having house parties. I mean, I kind of sat back and watched as like one group of people were going on lavish vacations and other groups of people were throwing house parties. And it's like, this could have been so much better contained had people been more responsible.
Yeah, but Trump was among the first way back in January to stop flights from COVID-19 hotspots, including Wuhan province and from Europe, parts of Italy, for instance. He did it, and at the time, people said, "You're crazy, Donald Trump. This is a racist policy on your part. It's completely misplaced. It's hysterical." And now, of course, they're saying, "Well, you didn't act soon enough. You didn't do enough way back when you had a chance to stop this thing from coming to the United States." I mean, I don't think he can win from losing. But to me, how big is COVID going to be come election time? I mean, is it your sense that it'll make or break Trump's reelection chances?
Yeah. And, people will go for safety, whether they're at least what they perceive as safety and security, over their own principles, and in many cases, and then again, other people were going to go with the principles of what they feel is freedom and liberty and so forth, possibly over the issues of safety. And right now in Wisconsin and a lot of places around the country, we're having this big debate about reopening schools, and I kind of see it as like, I'm so confused that conservatives want the kids to go back into the schools. It's like, yeah, but the schools are where they've been kind of brainwashing your kids with this very biased liberal viewpoint. So you really want the kids back in the schools, or Or could you maybe take this moment to really observe what the teachers are saying? And this is a great opportunity for the privatization of schools. And there's so many questions about the schools. It's a whole nother aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. Miles Kristen joining us from near Madison, Wisconsin, rather. Also check out Wisconsin International Radio. Do you think that Biden is going to be okay? I mean, if he's got to go out there and campaign, and he sounds like a guy who's clearly having some cognitive issues.
Oh, yeah.
Despite Kamala, we haven't spoken about Kamala yet and the impact.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so they have the convention coming up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, like a week from now. And the last I heard, he wasn't even going to be at the convention. I mean, so yeah, they're going to put Kamala out there as basically the person to talk and campaign. I mean, I don't know what level of campaigning they can actually do. I mean, it's probably going to be real small, closed number events, which was already kind of the way they campaigned in 2016 and before. It was usually like candidate goes and visits a small number of people in a, not open to the public sort of a thing. I mean, the Democrats are really, really bad when it comes to campaigning. And at the same time, I don't think you should be having large indoor campaign rallies.
Are there going to be riots in Milwaukee, do you think?
Absolutely. So Biden's not going to the convention. And he also isn't going to the convention about 100 different police departments who, after the Fire and Safety Commission of Milwaukee said, okay, police can't do this, they can't use this, they can't use pepper spray, tear gas, so forth. 100 different police departments from around the area that were originally going to help police it said, no, we're not going. So it's pretty much the Milwaukee Police, National Guard, maybe your state troopers, and maybe whatever private security they can get. Maybe, various government, federal groups might be there. But, I mean, they're going to be really understaffed. And then they announced this weeks ago that there's going to be, 100 less police departments there. So you're bringing in whack jobs from all over the country. On top of it, the people that are already in Milwaukee, just recently they were firing bullets off at a police chief's house. I mean, the things going on in Wisconsin are crazy as far as some of these protests. They're showing up at people's houses, intimidating them all the time now, using these fear tactics against people. And I would not be surprised at all if you see crazy rioting in Milwaukee. I mean, I lived in Milwaukee years ago, and it's gotten a lot worse. It's a hotbed for Corona. It's a hotbed for, gang activity. It's a terrible. There's nice things about Milwaukee, but this is going to bring out the worst in Milwaukee.
If you're Trump, though, maybe there's a little voice that says, you know what, those guys wanted to defund the police. They don't want federal help in terms of protecting federal buildings. Maybe we'll just let the rioters do whatever they want and destroy this Democrat Party convention. Maybe it'll show the rest of the world just how lawlessness really looks.
Yeah, I mean,
on national
like a year
television.
and a half ago, whenever it was that they first announced that they were going to have the convention in Milwaukee, I was like, part of me would love to go and film and do interviews on the street, but I knew like over a year ago, I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm going anywhere near Milwaukee for that, because I knew then it was going to be crazy. Then COVID happened, then all the protests happened, and now it's like, my God, it's going to be absolutely terrible. And I know people that live in Milwaukee, and I've told them, like, get out of Milwaukee that weekend. Don't be around there. The traffic's going to be horrible because of, they're going to probably do roadblocks and various things like that. But that's probably on the lighter note of the things that's going to go on,
I guess New Jersey, now the latest state, I think there are 9 now to basically approve vote by mail. The GOP has come out and said this is really cheat by mail. This is a way for the Democrats to try and rig the process come November because their candidate sucks, and they're afraid they're going to lose, so they have to rig this thing any way they can, and they're going to do it through the mail system. I don't know. How do you see this having an impact come November?
I'm not really afraid of the mail-in vote. In fact, I would say sometimes in mail-in voting, when Democrats were advocating for that years ago in Wisconsin with like the Scott Walker elections and so forth, and I always had the concerns that, well, what if the votes just then aren't counted? I think they should start counting there should be mail-in ballots, and they should start counting those ballots long before the day of the election, and they should verify and check, okay, this is a real person, this is a real person. The bigger concern I've ever had since 2000, 2004 is the electronic voting machines, because then whatever company owns those machines can basically flip the vote one way or another. I mean, there was a convention years ago where they showed it was something like a 12-year-old or a teenager was able to hack into one of these machines because the technology is not that advanced. So when you're dealing with, you got, for instance, Diebold and ES&S at one time, that like these two companies, and it was like both of them were run by brothers, and that had a lot to do with the Ohio vote of 2004 and the Kerry Bush election. I would say that if anything, the electronic voting machines can really do way more switching of the votes than any mail-in ballots.
Talk about Trump's chances now. There was a time there it looked like he was down double digits, at least according to some polls, which I don't even believe. But some suggest that he has clawed his way back now that Americans are feeling a little bit better about COVID, a little bit better about the economy. Obviously, there are still issues. Yeah. But as these things start to ease in the minds of Americans, all of a sudden Trump's poll numbers are starting to creep up again. I don't know. How do you see this playing out? Is Trump back in the race?
I mean, a year ago, I would have said that Trump was going to win. And the fact that, like, somebody like a more conservative libertarian, like economist like Peter Schiff thinks that Trump's going to lose, and even Ben Shapiro thinks he's going to lose. But so here's the thing. His response to COVID, I could go on about all the flaws in it, and I think that's probably what could do him in. I definitely think Trump could lose at this point. I think that the rioting is not going to help Joe Biden. All the crazy people on the left make it worse. Kamala Harris is got a terrible track record. None of that matters to the Democrats who are supporting Biden. I mean, it's like if you could stomach Biden, Kamala Harris, it could have been worse. It could have been a lot better. I mean, Kamala, I don't like her. She's scary. Just the things in her past are insane. But here's the thing about Kamala: she's a lot smarter and a lot better debater than Hillary Clinton's running mate Tim Kaine, if you remember that guy. I mean, yeah. Mike Pence basically just pulverized Tim Kaine in those debates. Tim Kaine looked like such an idiot, and they're going to put Kamala up there, and ultimately Kamala's probably going to help Biden, but Kamala was picked because she checked certain boxes, and the thing is, Kamala's not even liked in the black community, especially around the protests and so forth. I mean, Kamala's got this record as an attorney general where she prosecuted all these people for nonviolent drug offenses and then laughed about it. She wanted to punish parents for their children being truant. I mean, it's. If the Republicans or the conservatives really want to win this election, they'd have to get really serious about COVID and dealing with it. But it might be a little too late,
We'll have to see. I don't know. I think you never underestimate a guy like Trump. He's a fighter, and I don't know. Biden's such a weak candidate. The more people see him and hear him, based on that clip that we had just earlier, I think that there's something seriously wrong
quick,
here.
I mean, if the candidate was Tulsi Gabbard or Pete Buttigieg, I don't think it would be even close at this point.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Miles. Appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.
Miles Kristen coming to us from Wisconsin, and appreciate him coming on the show, as always.